They say your first love is unforgettable. But no one tells you what happens when the person you trusted the most becomes the reason you stop believing in love. My name is Emily, and this is the story of how I lost my first love, and how someone else later proved that love can happen twice. I met Jack when I was 20. It was a warm autumn afternoon at the university library. I was searching for a book on the top shelf when suddenly another hand reached for the same book. I turned and saw him. Jack, tall, confident, with messy brown hair and the kind of smile that made people feel comfortable instantly. "Oh, sorry," he laughed. "Looks like we both want the same book." I smiled shyly. "You can take it." "No," he said, handing it to me. "Ladies first." That was the beginning. At first, we were just friends. We studied together, drank coffee together, and shared small conversations about life and dreams. But slowly, friendship turned into something deeper. Jack was charming and thoughtful. He would text me every morning. "Good morning, Emily." He would call me every night before sleeping. "Did you eat? Did you reach home safely?" It felt like I had found someone who truly cared. After 6 months, he confessed his feelings. We were sitting near the river that evening, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "Emily," he said softly, "I think I'm in love with you." My heart started beating faster. "I've never met someone like you," he continued. "You make my life better." I remember smiling and whispering, "I think I'm in love with you too." And just like that, we became inseparable. The first year of our relationship felt like a dream. We traveled to small places together. We watched movies late at night. We shared secrets and future plans. Jack often said, "One day, I'm going to marry you." And I believed him. I believed every word. But love sometimes changes slowly, so slowly that you don't notice until it's too late. After 2 years, something started feeling different. Jack began canceling our plans. "Work is busy," he would say. His texts became shorter. His calls became rare. Sometimes he would disappear for hours, even days. Whenever I asked him, he always had an excuse. "You're overthinking, Emily." So I tried to trust him. Because that's what people in love do. They trust. But deep inside, my heart knew something was wrong. One evening, I decided to surprise him. Jack had told me he was working late at a restaurant near his office. I thought it would be sweet to bring him coffee. But when I walked inside the restaurant, my entire world stopped. Jack was sitting at a table near the corner. And he wasn't alone. A girl with long black hair sat beside him. They were laughing. His hand was holding hers. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. It felt like the air had disappeared from the room. I stood there frozen, watching the man I loved look at another girl the way he used to look at me. My heart shattered quietly. Jack suddenly looked up and saw me. His smile disappeared instantly. "Emily," I didn't say anything. I simply placed the coffee cup on the nearest table and walked away. Behind me, I heard him calling my name. But I didn't stop. Some betrayals don't need explanations. They only need distance. That night, I cried more than I ever had in my life. Not just because Jack cheated on me, but because I realized something painful. The future I imagined with him was never real. For weeks, I avoided him. Jack tried calling, texting, apologizing. "Emily, it was a mistake. It meant nothing. I still love you." But broken trust is hard to repair. Eventually, I told him something simple. "It's over." And just like that, my first love ended. Months passed. Life slowly returned to normal. But my heart changed. I stopped believing in promises. I stopped believing in forever. Love felt like something dangerous. Something temporary. Something that always ends in pain. I told myself one thing again and again: I will never fall in love again. But life has a strange way of surprising us. Because just when I had completely closed my heart, someone new walked into my life. Someone kind. Someone patient. Someone who loved me even when I pushed him away. His name was Daniel, and he was about to prove that sometimes love really can happen twice. After Jack broke my heart, I promised myself something very simple. I would never fall in love again. No expectations, no promises, no heartbreak, but life had other plans. Because the man who would slowly change my life was someone I didn't even want to notice. 6 months after my breakup with Jack, my life had become quiet and routine. I focused on my job and avoided anything related to love. My friends often tried to set me up on dates. "Emily, you need to move on," they would say. But I always refused. "I'm happy alone," I replied. The truth was simple: I wasn't ready to trust anyone again. One Monday morning, I started working at a new marketing company in the city. The office was modern and busy, filled with people typing on laptops and answering phone calls. I tried to focus on my work and keep my life simple. That's when I met him. Daniel. He worked in the same department as me. At first, he didn't seem special. Just a quiet, polite man with calm eyes and a warm smile. "Hi, you must be Emily," he said on my first day. "I'm Daniel. If you need any help, let me know." I nodded politely. "Thanks." That was it. Just a simple introduction. But Daniel slowly became a part of my daily life. He always greeted me every morning. "Good morning, Emily." He always held the elevator door when I arrived. He always asked if I needed help with my projects. But unlike other men, Daniel never tried to impress me. He never flirted. He never crossed boundaries. He was simply kind. One evening, the entire office stayed late to finish an important project. Everyone looked tired and stressed. Around 9 p.m., I realized I had skipped dinner. Before I could leave my desk, Daniel quietly placed a small food box beside my laptop. "You should eat," he said. "You've been working all day." I looked at him with surprise. "You didn't have to do that." He smiled gently. "I know." Then he walked away. That was the first time I noticed something different about him. Daniel cared, without expecting anything in return. Over the next few months, Daniel's kindness never changed. When it rained, he would bring an extra umbrella. When I looked stressed, he would bring coffee. When I stayed late at work, he waited to make sure I got home safely. But even after all that, I kept my distance, because every time someone showed me kindness, my mind remembered Jack. And my heart whispered the same warning. Don't trust again. One evening after work, Daniel finally asked something unexpected. "Emily, can I ask you something?" I looked up from my desk. "Yes?" He hesitated for a moment. "Would you like to have dinner with me sometime?" The question felt simple, but my heart immediately built a wall. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "I don't date." Daniel didn't look upset. He simply nodded. "That's okay." And just like always, he respected my answer. But something strange happened after that. Even though I rejected him, Daniel didn't change. He didn't become distant. He didn't become angry. He continued treating me the same way. Kind, respectful, patient, and slowly, very slowly, I began noticing things about him. The way he helped everyone in the office. The way he stayed calm even during stressful situations. The way he always kept his promises. Daniel was the opposite of Jack. Jack was charming and exciting. Daniel was steady and genuine. One rainy evening, we both left the office at the same time. The streets were wet, and the cold wind filled the air. Daniel opened his umbrella and looked at me. "You can walk with me if you want." For a moment, I hesitated. Then I nodded. We walked silently under the same umbrella. After a few minutes, Daniel spoke softly. "Emily, I know you've been hurt before." I stopped walking. "How do you know that?" He looked at me calmly. "Because sometimes when someone mentions love, your eyes change." His words surprised me. No one had ever noticed that before. Daniel continued, "I'm not asking you to love me. I just want you to know something." "What?" I asked quietly. "I care about you." My heart suddenly felt uncomfortable. "Daniel," but before I could say anything else, he gently shook his head. "You don't have to say anything." And just like that, he changed the topic. That night, when I reached home, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Why was he so patient? Why didn't he give up? Why did he care about someone who constantly pushed him away? I told myself it didn't matter. But deep inside, something had started changing. Something small, something dangerous. A tiny part of my heart was beginning to trust again. But I still refused to believe it. Because I was sure of one thing. Daniel might love me, but I would never love him back. Or at least, that's what I thought. Sometimes the person who loves you the most is the one you keep pushing away. Not because they are wrong for you, but because your heart is still afraid of being broken again. And that's exactly what I did to Daniel. I kept pushing him away, even when he was the only person who truly cared. After that rainy evening walk, things between me and Daniel slowly changed. Not in a dramatic way, but in small, quiet moments. He still greeted me every morning. "Good morning, Emily." He still asked if I needed help with work. But now there was something deeper in his eyes. Something honest. Something that made me uncomfortable. Because I knew what it meant. Daniel loved me. One afternoon, we were working late again in the office. Everyone had already gone home except the two of us. The office lights were dim, and the silence felt heavy. Daniel suddenly looked at me. "Emily, can I ask you something?" I sighed softly. "Daniel, if this is about us, I already told you." "I know," he interrupted gently. "You don't date." His calm voice made me feel guilty. "But I just want to understand something," he said. "What?" I asked. Why are you so afraid of love? His question caught me off guard. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Finally, I looked away and whispered, because love doesn't last. Daniel watched me carefully. Someone hurt you. It wasn't a question. It was a fact. And suddenly, all the memories of Jack came rushing back. The lies. The betrayal. The heartbreak. Yes, I admitted quietly. Daniel didn't speak for a moment. Then he said something that surprised me. I'm not him. I looked at him. I know, I said. But that doesn't change anything. Why not? He asked softly. Because trusting someone again means risking everything again. After that conversation, I expected Daniel to give up. Most men would have. But Daniel was different. He didn't pressure me. He didn't try to convince me every day. He simply continued being the same caring person he had always been. And that made things harder for me. Because the more I saw his kindness, the more my walls started to crack. One evening, our office organized a small team dinner at a restaurant. Everyone was laughing and enjoying themselves. At one point, one of my coworkers joked, "Daniel, when are you finally going to ask Emily out again?" The table suddenly became quiet. I felt embarrassed, but Daniel didn't look uncomfortable. He simply smiled and said calmly, "I don't need to ask again." Everyone looked confused. "Why?" someone asked. Daniel glanced at me and said softly, "Because some people just need time." My heart skipped a beat. He wasn't angry. He wasn't impatient. He was simply waiting. Later that night, I walked outside the restaurant alone. The cold wind touched my face. I heard footsteps behind me. It was Daniel. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yes," I replied quietly. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then I said something I never thought I would say. "Daniel, why do you still care about me?" He looked surprised. "What do you mean? You know I keep pushing you away. You know I might never love you back. So why are you still here?" Daniel looked at me with calm eyes. Then he answered in a simple voice. "Because loving someone isn't about forcing them to love you back." His words felt heavy. "I care about you because you're kind, strong, and honest," he continued. "And because when I look at you, I see someone worth waiting for." I felt my chest tighten. No one had ever said something like that to me before. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. I got very sick with a high fever and couldn't go to work for several days. I didn't tell anyone except my manager. But somehow, Daniel found out. The next evening, my doorbell rang. When I opened the door, Daniel was standing there holding a bag of medicine and soup. "What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. "You're sick," he said simply. "You didn't have to come." "I know," just like the first time he brought me food at the office. He stepped inside and placed everything on the table. Then he said something quietly. "You don't have to love me, Emily." I looked at him. "But you deserve someone who cares about you." My heart felt strangely warm. And for the first time since Jack, I didn't feel afraid. But I still wasn't ready to admit what my heart was slowly realizing. Because deep down, I knew something dangerous was happening. The man I tried so hard to ignore was becoming the man I trusted the most. And soon, Daniel would do something that would completely change my life. Something I never expected. He was going to ask me the most important question of my life. They say your first love leaves a mark, but your second love can heal all the scars. For me, Daniel wasn't just my second love. He was the love that taught me trust, patience, and the real meaning of forever. After our wedding, life didn't suddenly turn into a fairy tale. It was quiet, simple, ordinary, and that's what made it perfect. Daniel didn't try to impress me with grand gestures. He didn't shower me with gifts. He loved me through everyday life, making breakfast, remembering the little things I liked, leaving sweet notes on my laptop, and always checking if I had a good day. At first, I thought I was just grateful, that I appreciated his love. But slowly, something deeper started to bloom inside me. One morning, I woke up feeling restless. I glanced at Daniel, still sleeping beside me. His hand was gently resting on my arm. I realized that in all these months, I had never felt a moment of fear, doubt, or betrayal with him. Not once. The realization hit me like a warm wave. This was love, not the fiery, chaotic love I once had with Jack, but the steady, unwavering kind. And I was falling in love with Daniel. Life tested us in small ways. One day, I got an urgent call from work about a project that went wrong. I panicked and felt ready to cry. Daniel didn't scold me, he didn't rush me. He sat beside me, held my hand, and whispered, "Take a breath. We'll fix it together." His calm voice made my heart quiet. That day I realized, he wasn't just loving me, he was protecting me. Not from the world, from myself. Months passed. We celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and even quiet Tuesdays together. Daniel kept every promise he made the day he proposed. To love me patiently, to respect my heart, and to prove that love doesn't have to hurt. Slowly, my heart opened fully. One evening, sitting on the balcony, I looked at him and whispered, "I love you, Daniel." His eyes lit up with a gentle smile. "I've been waiting to hear that," he said softly. And in that moment, I understood something I hadn't realized before. Love can happen twice. It can heal the wounds of the first heartbreak. It can teach you to trust again. It can make you feel whole. Years later, we still laugh together, support each other, and face life's ups and downs side by side. Jack's betrayal was once the source of my pain. But Daniel's love transformed that pain into strength. The love I lost was a lesson. The love I found was everything I needed. And as I look at Daniel, my husband, my protector, my best friend, I finally understand. Love doesn't always happen perfectly the first time. Sometimes, it takes a second chance. Sometimes, it takes someone willing to wait, to be patient, and to show you that true love is not about promises. It's about actions. And that's how I learned. Yes, love can happen twice.